Hi, it's Jim Grillo, CMP from HeresChicago.com. We've got a new series out virtually called 20 Minutes in 2020. So we've got a brand new world surrounding us. The nice thing is it's 60 degrees today and it's sunny. So I'm taking this call from outside. Merle Karsh is on with us. He is the president of WCF Events, a company that's been around for over 15, 16, 17, 19 years, somewhere around there. Right,
Almost
Merle?
23, hard to believe.
Wow.
We started when I was 4.
Yeah. Well, Merle's always been a great thought leader, very smart businessman. He runs WCF Events. He also runs Windy City Field House and a bunch of offshoots, which is picnics in Chicago, scavenger hunts in Chicago. And they have some great programs for team building and corporate activity providers. They've been doing it for years and years and years. So I wanted to reach out to Merle for our first 20 in 2020 to find out a little bit about his thoughts on, how are things going today with suppliers in the industry, and we'll also be inviting planners on and so forth. So Merle, what are you doing? Are you pivoting? Because obviously groups have gone away, in-person events.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is unprecedented. As I tell my kids, they will tell their grandchildren about this. I mean, this will be something that hopefully is once in a lifetime for people. But it is crazy and it is upending everything. I mean, we are in the events industry. By definition, that means you bring people together for an event. There aren't a lot of one-person events out there. So this has really changed everything. Once this all started transpiring about 3 weeks ago, we knew we had to pivot because people weren't going to be doing, their team building events with 80 people in close proximity. But on the same token, the need for people to stay connected, to be motivated. This is a very difficult time. You're a traditional employee. You're working at home. Some are by themselves. Some, of course, have spouses or roommates, but it's very lonely. You're doing work, and maybe you get on a phone call, maybe you get on a conference call, but you're used to that social interaction. Most people still work in the office place, not obviously right this moment, but in general. So to lose that social interaction is a very disconnecting feeling for people. So we started trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to still get people connected? And that's when we started launching these virtual programs, virtual team building programs and so forth. And as we were sort of developing and designing and testing, we started getting inundated from companies who were like, we need this. We need to do something. What can you guys offer? What do you guys have? And, we're fortunate and blessed to have worked with, almost all big companies in the city of Chicago. So we have relationships with these companies. So they just started calling. We need something. We need something for Thursday. We need something here next Tuesday. And that's when we started launching these virtual programs to get people connected, to get people energized a little bit. You're at work, it's kind of depressing. You're sort of by yourself. All you do is watch the news. It's kind of depressing. You finish work, it's kind of depressing. Well, it's tough for employees to be highly motivated working in that environment. So our goal in working with our clients and what they needed was to create some events to energize people, get them having a little bit of fun, laughing, smiling, but most importantly, also getting them feel reconnected with their with their companies. Because if they're not feeling connected with their companies, the quality of their work, the amount of their work, the effectiveness of their work is not going to be at its peak. So the design here is to get people feeling better, reconnected, seeing some of their peers and teammates and so forth, and having a little bit of fun.
So what are you hearing out there as far as, the longevity of this whole, COVID-19? Are events coming back for you? You've been around for a while in this industry. What are your thoughts on this?
So obviously I don't have any more insight than anyone else, but my sense of what I'm reading and the stats I'm seeing is that we're peaking. And that things are going to start coming back. You see it in the stock market today, which at least at the current moment is up 6%. I think they're seeing the same data that I'm seeing, which is that things are peaking. We're starting to see the benefits of all the social distancing. There's a lot of success, with some of these meds that they're trying. And again, it's not entirely proven, and they're still working through that, and that stuff takes time. But it does seem like there's a lot of success with some of that. So I think nothing's going to happen in the next week or two. We're going to get through, at least in the state of Illinois, through this April 30th and so forth. But, if you think about where we were 3 weeks ago, it's hard to imagine how much further we might be 3 weeks from now. So things can really change relatively rapidly. I don't mean overnight, but people are going to want to meet. They're going to want to get back together. June is almost 2 months away. We've only been dealing with this collectively for 3 weeks. So you think about what 8 weeks is going to be like, and July is 3 months and 4 months. I think what you're seeing is companies really want to continue to do their summer events, really want to continue to do stuff. Does that mean May events are being postponed? Absolutely. Our May events are being postponed to July and August, but companies really are trying to stick with their plan of doing something over the summer. If we find ourselves that we're exactly where we are today, 3 months from now, well, of course, a very different situation, and they would have to react accordingly. But from everything that we're seeing now, I think you're going to start seeing things come back slowly, hopefully in the May-ish timeframe. Not necessarily big gatherings, but people going back to work, those kinds of things. And then hopefully by June and July, things are kind of back to normal. I mean, we've been dealing with this now 3-4 weeks, and that's 2 months, 3 months away. So hopefully we get on the other end of it and we start seeing life getting back to normal.
So you also host like really large summer picnics,
Mm-hmm.
for corporations. Do you have any inkling that may return this summer?
So the clients that we have that have already booked, because a lot of those get booked in advance, they expect that their picnic's going to occur. Some that are looking at June may have said, hey, you know what, let's see if we can have a backup date in August. People in July and August, and certainly anyone in September, they're assuming their picnic's going to occur. Yes, we will reevaluate it. No decisions need to be made about it today. But we're still sending proposals out for people for their summer events and things like that. They're not necessarily signing those right now, but they want that information because hopefully when life starts getting back together or back to normal, it's going to start going at 100 miles an hour. So a lot of the planners that we're talking to are like, get me that summer proposal. I'm not going to be able to get it signed right now. Not certain we're going to do it right now, but I want to check that off my to-do list. I want to have it in hand. So if the ball starts rolling again, I'm not then seeking, I need to go get proposals. I need to go figure out what we're going to do. They want to have all that information at the ready. So if things start looking good, they can talk to their executives and say, let's go do this. And so forth. So we are still sending out a lot of proposals for those things. Obviously, it's a little bit in a holding pattern, though.
So you mentioned peak early on. You had mentioned a chart that showed that not only just Illinois, but every state in the union right now is pretty much at the peak. Like it's gonna fall off from this point.
Well, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just reading data. The New York Times does have a really good chart that shows every state and the speed with which cases are doubling. And there is not a single state in the country where those cases are doubling at their fastest pace anymore. They sort of have 4 categories defined by colors: orange, yellow, kind of a beige, and white. And what's great news is if you went back 7 days ago, 10 days ago, probably about a third of the states were in the orange, the fastest growing. Now there's not a single state in the orange. Many are in the yellow and some are in the beige. So it doesn't mean that lots of people aren't still getting it, but the pace that they're getting it is really starting to decrease. And you saw the announcements out of New York that a ton of people went home from the hospitals this weekend. That's great news. That frees up more beds, more ventilators, all that stuff. But hopefully we are at the tipping point. I don't think anyone wants to, say, it's over by any stretch. But going downhill is a lot better than going uphill, which is what sort of has been the case. And it seems to be like that's what's going on right now. They're having some success. I think there's over 4,000 patients on some of those various meds in New York. And hopefully those really pan out for everyone.
So let's talk about something fun, okay? You have a couple of programs. You have something, I think it was called Pub Trivia.
Exactly.
And what was the other one?
So we've done is we've evolved our traditional programs into virtual. So we've been running trivia for 22 years. We've been running pub trivia, super, super popular. So when clients call and say, we need to do something, we need to figure out how to do something with our people virtually, that's when we adapted those existing programs to virtual programs. So virtual pub trivia, we just did one Friday that was super successful. People had a great time. We've got like 5 or 6 more booked here in the next 10 days. It enables people, it's traditional trivia. So you've got the MC and our MCs, and you've met him before, are always the Second City improv sports kind of guys, very dynamic, very charismatic. They're going to be delivering the questions and things like that. And then so that's how the questions get delivered. I'll talk technologically in a second. Then you got to be able to speak privately. In a traditional environment, you do that at a table in a ballroom. Each team would be each table would be a team. Well, now we're doing that on private, basically a private chat room for each team. So we can be talking about the question privately, other teams can't hear us. And then you just need a mechanism for people to submit their answers. So if you think about traditional trivia, you've got delivery, which is the professional MC. You've got the ability to work privately and the ability to answer the question. The old days was you filled out a sheet and you answered the question. So now we do it via webinar. So you've got that same charismatic MC who's up there having fun with people, talking to people. And then you've got the private breakout rooms. There's a couple different ways depending on what platform we're using. And each client tends to have a little bit of a preference on what platform they want to use. We're adaptable to virtually any platform, so we'll react accordingly to them. But you've got that second tier, which is how the teams work privately. So they can talk and they can be having fun. And they go, oh, I think it's Wyoming. No, I think it's Nebraska, whatever it happens to be. Privately, and then one of their people, the same thing in the old way, where you kind of have a captain who fills out the answer sheet. Now you have a captain who sort of submits the answer virtually so that we can be seeing what the answer is so we can tally up the points. So it's a great way to kind of have people get energized. And invariably, there's always team two, there's a chat that's always available, so you can always see, hear from the other teams. Team two thinks they're going to kick everyone else's butt. And then the MC is going to see that come on the chat line, and they're like, wow, team two is pretty aggressive considering they haven't even had a question issued yet. And then, team three and team four pipe in, wow, team two's awfully, that kind of stuff. So you get kind of the chatter going back and forth. And that's really where that camaraderie starts coming back and people start having a little bit of fun and engagement and so forth. And so that's the virtual pub trivia program. The virtual scavenger hunt, which is launching right now, super, super engaging as well. The difference with that is this is now a little more picture-based. So you might have a question that says, your team needs to submit whoever is the most creative work environment. So that team first needs to be able to share their pictures amongst themselves so they can figure out which they think is the most creative work environment, and then they'll submit their answer. So the MC will review those and so forth. And then the MC, so the result is each team is going to submit their most fun or most creative work environment, who has it at home. So there's going to be a lot of more visual type questions. Who can stack their most toilet paper, the toilet paper in the most creative manner without destroying any toilet paper? We do not want any toilet paper destroyed in this process. But you can imagine like the towers that people can kind of build, or the funny things people can build and sort of submit with their, for summer picnics, we used to wrap people in toilet paper, as one of our mummy relays. Now that's like gold. It'd be like wrapping people in gold. You're not going to waste it. So
way to be relevant.
Exactly. So it's a requirement that while you can take that picture with the funniest toilet paper background, you cannot waste any of that toilet paper in the background. But it's very much more visual. There's also things they got to problem solve and so forth. But now you get more of a visual feel, kind of a scavenger hunt. So people are going to be going around going around their houses or apartments or condos, finding things and working as a team. Hey, I have a great version of that. One of the other ones that people enjoy is a pose with a painting or a picture in your house. So you're replicating that pose. So, people are going to be scampering around. Oh, I got a funny picture over here. I can do that picture and stuff like that. And then submitting those things. So very popular, very engaging. So again, yeah, you're not traveling the sights and sounds of Chicago. We get that. You're not out on Michigan Avenue. We get that. We know we're not doing that. But at least you're kind of traveling around your apartment, having fun and those kinds of things. Another one that's a fun question with that is who has the best view from their, at home office? So you can imagine everyone kind of taking pictures of the view, sharing it with their teammates. Oh, I think Bill's got the best view. Let's submit that one. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what about my view? Would I win?
Your view's pretty good. It's outdoor. It's sunny. I like that. Right. I'm not sure it's much of a view beyond a foot and a half of the fence, but it's creative.
Right. So yeah, this is my new office. As long as it stays sunny outside and warm. I think today is 60 something. Tomorrow's in the 70s. So, this is going to be my new office myself. But I do want to thank you, Merle, for coming on. Merle Karsh was my first client with HeresChicago.com way back in the day in 2004. I will never forget going to that restaurant. Your favorite.
Uncle Julio's.
Uncle Julio's.
There you go.
And explaining this to you, and, you got it. And, I really appreciate that you did get it. And now you're my first on 20 in 2020. That's 20 minutes interview in 2020. So I think we're nearing the end here. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to say before we go?
No, I appreciate your time. You've done a great job. I think hopefully this is going to be a great service for people. These videos that you're coming out with is everyone's trying to stay connected. You know, companies are trying to figure out what other companies are doing, how to help, how to keep their businesses afloat. You know, this is challenging. You know, for those who've been here a long time, we've been through, you know, the dot-com bubble. We've been through, unfortunately, 9/11. You know, we've been through the 2008-9 crash. This is a very different and hopefully a much faster recovery since the economy was phenomenal before we entered this. Hopefully we have the capacity to get back to where we were in the not too distant future. So I appreciate your time. And of course, if people want to get a hold of me, they can just, you know, Google WCFevents.com, or they can email me at MURREL@WCF, Walter Charlie Frank, events.com.
And you can always search WCF Events on HeresChicago.com. You'll find Merle right there. You can email him directly. So, all right. Thanks, Merle.
All right. Thanks, Jim.